You are listening to the All County All-Stars podcast, a show featuring franchise success stories in property management. Thinking about starting your own business and considering property management? Hear how our franchisees have partnered with All County to overcome obstacles and open flourishing franchises across the United States. Welcome to the All County All-Stars podcast. This is your host, Tanya, and I am very excited today to bring you Hon Wong. And Hon is actually the person who made me decide to choose All County. So I'm actually really excited that he's here to talk to me today because I get to dig into his story more because I actually don't know all of his story. He was so helpful to me when I was first considering franchising that this is an opportunity to discover more about him and his business, because not only is he the director of franchise development, but he is also an all-county franchise owner. So welcome to the show, Hon.
Thank you, Tanya. It's a pleasure, and I'm excited. I'm glad you're doing well, and we're always excited when we add a new member to the family. It's the way I look at it. And I was one of the first one. The family was very, very small, technically. But we've done very, very well. And I'd like to share that enthusiasm and the power of having that residual income. So I'm ready whenever you are.
Well, so Hon is actually the franchise owner of the All County Tampa Bay office, right? Which opened in 2010. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so
yes.
You've been in business for a good 13 years.
Yes, that is correct. We started when the Great Recession, the housing crash occurred. Looking back, I don't recommend it for anyone.
Well, luckily that is not the case. It is not 2010. Thank goodness for that. I mean, there's been some other stuff going on, but it was not, there's nothing like what it was after that housing crash, right? So
correct.
You actually, what did you do before becoming an all-county franchisee? We can start there.
I was originally in corporate sales. I've always loved sales, and I've also loved real estate. As with most people can relate to is, one day you're the golden child on the corporate bus, and then the next day you're asked to get off the bus.
It's true.
You're not
it's
the golden
true.
child anymore. That's true. So I was asked one day to get off the bus. So that's when I decided I want to get into real estate, because I always loved real estate. My family had multifamily homes, apartment complexes when I was young, and I remember working in the back, cleaning up the building and everything. And I always was intrigued by real estate. So I became a real estate agent. I did very, very well, and got the opportunity to be part of the All County family. Mm-hmm. So that's where I joined.
So let me ask you, because I think there are some real estate agents out there, one of which is on the show right now as the host. But, real estate sales, you can make a pretty decent living, and you were pretty successful at it. And do you do real estate sales currently?
I do. Mm-hmm. I do it mostly for our investors. One of the things that is great about this business and the way it's structured is a lot of times you'll handle both sides of the transaction, because you've got an investor who thinks the market's going to crash, and then you have another one that thinks the market's going to continue to go up, and you broker the deal. And it's done internally, in-house. Thing I love about it is most of the time, our investors, it's a cash deal. Mm-hmm. So it closes in 2 weeks. Yep. And you're done. And then you basically move that property from the old owner to the new owner, but you're still managing it.
Correct.
So It's the best of both worlds. I love it.
Yeah, that's what I discovered too, and also why I added property management to the mix, because as an agent, and especially agents that work with investors, it's honestly a no-brainer. It really is a no-brainer, because you're helping an investor sell a property. They're doing a 1031 exchange. They're usually buying 2 or 3 more or a bigger building. Mm-hmm. They're moving up, right? So each step of the way, they're getting a more expensive property. And they don't want to manage that property. They want you to. And it's a way of continuing that relationship with your investor clients for years, decades even, and continuing mm-hmm. to have a solid income and residual income stream throughout the whole. Honestly, you can't beat it, right?
Oh no, I think it's the two big things that I love about it is number one is the relationship.
Yep.
It's long term, and number two, it's the residual. As a back when I was a real estate agent, I was doing well, and all agents knows you have good months and you have bad months.
Completely. Yeah.
And this business allows you to take those peaks and valleys out. It's extremely consistent,
hmm
which is what most people want anyway.
Completely. And
Yeah.
I love that you mentioned the relationship that you build with people because, for example, I have an investor who's bought, I think she's probably on her eighth or ninth property that I've helped her purchase, several of
Hmm.
which are, multifamily investments, 3, 4 units. And
Hmm.
she called me the other day and she was like, "Hey, I would love for you. I'm doing my trust and my will. If anything ever happens to me," and she's a single mom with a daughter, she said, "If anything ever happens to me, can I list you here on this form as my real estate advisor? And so the people that are handling my affairs will come to you for the real estate, portion of it." I
Hmm.
was really honored actually that she thought of me and that she felt that there was that kind of trust where she was like,
Yeah.
"I know that you're going to make the right decision about my assets so that my daughter will be okay." I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the moments that really drive us.
Yeah.
Those are the things that we love because that's what matters to
hmm
us, is the trust and being able to give honest uh, counseling is extremely important.
Completely. So you started in 2010. And how
Hmm.
was that getting started? I mean, why all county? Why a franchise? I mean, property management seems like kind of a normal pathway for an agent, sort of. Most of them don't do property management, but you
Right.
decided to do it. Why? Why?
Well, I knew at that point that the sales weren't gonna, really go up a lot. There were some short sales, and depending on the state you were in, it could take anywhere from a few months to several years. So waiting that long was not something that I wanted to do.
hmm
And I saw the opportunity. And I was also selling the franchise at that point. And I saw the internal workings of it. And I said, you know what? This is what we need. And so we jumped on, became part of the All County family. And we haven't looked back. It's really been a blessing for my family and for the opportunity it's given us, both financially and also the freedom. People don't realize how many hours they really put in until they start looking at it.
hmm
And when I was working for corporate, it was 50, 60 hours easily. And in the beginning with any business,
You
you're
have to
going to
put
put
in the time.
hours in.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you start up.
But afterwards, it's structured that we don't have to be there
hmm
every day. And that's the thing I love about it. Like right now, I go into my Tampa office Mondays and Wednesdays, 9:30 noon,
hmm
maybe 1 o'clock, and that's it. And the rest of the time, I'm doing the recruiting because that's what I really love to do.
Sounds like a nice life.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to get to that point where you were only, in part time, like Mondays and Wednesdays? I mean, how many, like realistically, right? Because a lot of people they are looking at a franchise to help them accelerate that process from,
Hmm.
launch to that point where you're at, where you're like, I stop in once or twice a week, and that's everybody's dream, right? As a business owner, but
Right.
how long does that actually take, in your experience?
It depends on who your partner is. With my wife, Sue, Uh, I joined in the business, immediately, and I learned a very hard lesson. You can't have too many chiefs and not enough Indians. And she basically told me, you need to go find another office to start. So that's how we ended up with two offices. Uh,
I had not heard that story. How funny.
yeah, it was like, okay, I'm building this, so you need to find another business to build. So we got another franchise because of it. And it was about a year and a half, 2 years into the new office that I was able to step away. And we had a family help us and manage that asset while I did most of the recruiting. So total, I would say probably 3 years, 4 years,
hmm
depending on. what your goals are. A lot of people want to work the business. It's how much time do you really want to go into the office?
Yeah.
As you get a little bit more mature, as I would say, you tend to rely on other staff to handle that, and you're doing more the higher thinking, strategy about the business and things like that. So you don't go in as often.
And there's an evolution, right? Because I think a lot of franchisees they're new to the business, and there's a certain startup period where they're learning everything, and it's a lot, drinking from the fire hose, right? The proverbial saying. And then like there's evolutions, like once you get past that and you hire staff, and then there's issues, that you'll run into, and ways that you can grow in your leadership capacity as a business owner of managing other people to the point where like you have a really well efficient running office like you do now. And you had the opportunity to step into the director of franchise development. Talk to me a little bit about, because you are on the calls with all of the new franchisees, correct? That are considering All County. What have you seen over the years in terms of new franchisees, of people who are successful in this business and maybe people who aren't?
I'll tell you the biggest difference I noticed, and this is regardless of the background, right? Everybody brings something to the table when they're looking at a franchise system. The tough part is the execution.
Yes.
And that's where I see the very successful ones can execute, get it done. The others that aren't as successful as they could be, they will work on it, but there's no urgency. They don't complete the task, whatever it is. And so that's one thing. The other one is old-fashioned discipline, right? Get up and go and do the marketing every day when you first start, because you're not a known entity. And that's a tough part, because I tell everyone, look, you're the backstop. The buck stops with you. You own the company. So if nobody else is going to do it, guess what? You've got to do it. So that's the thing, is to be able to execute and be disciplined.
I agree. Not everybody is cut out to be a business owner, because like you said, you are the end of the line. Like you make the ultimate decision, right? Which means it's fun because you can structure the world the way that you want to live in it, in a way. But on the other hand, like problems all flow upwards. If like your staff's like, well, I don't know, what are we going to do about this? Well, I guess it's Han's problem today to fix it, not mine, right? That's why they work for somebody else. So
no, it's very, very true. It's not for everyone, and I think that's the tough part for some of the people that we have the calls, is they don't recognize that. They think that it's going to be easy peasy. And we have the honest discussion with them, says, look, to be an owner is very, very difficult. It's not for everyone.
It really isn't. I mean, I was telling somebody the other day, I said, being an entrepreneur and being a business owner is like waking up every day and getting punched in the face and then showing up the next day to get it done again.
It is. Some days it's like that.
Some days it's like that. And it's not like that every day, right? But I think you do have to have a little bit of, you gotta have to have a little bit of something. Like you can't be easily scared, So
yeah, exactly.
So you talk to a lot of new franchisees, and why should they choose All County versus another franchise? I mean, you could do, I don't know, painting garage floors or a donut, stand or something. I don't know. So why property management and why All County?
So for me, there were several factors, and this was part of my upbringing. So one summer, my folks we had 5 kids, so there's a lot of free labor, right?
Nice.
So they had me working one summer at one of the diners we owned for the summer. And I must have worked 80, 90 hours a week.
Jeez.
That summer, every week. And it was seared in my head from that day on. I did not want to own any type of food services,
completely.
Or any type of business
that
involved inventory.
Well, not only that.
So we have this. we had this opportunity. No, you don't.
Well, I
Not
was
for
going to say,
me.
because it's hungry people, and like hungry people are not always the easiest to deal with. And they're just like, I'm hangry at this point. No, I completely, because that was one thing also. I was like, oh, no, not for me. And
Yeah.
you're open constantly. You're open on holidays, and
Yeah.
weekends. I'm like, this sounds like a terrible business, and the margins are so small,
Exactly. So I learned that. So when I was looking for a business, I said, I don't want anything involving inventory or special equipment, because in the restaurant business, you have to have all this special equipment. So I don't want any of that. And so I looked at something with service based. And I always loved real estate. And it dawned on me that this business deals with the most basic of needs, which was having a roof over your head. Everybody's got to live somewhere.
Yep.
And that's what I recognized. And even the last few years with the pandemic, we were afraid that we weren't going to collect anything, because you don't know, right? With the pandemic that we've been through. But we were able to really prosper. And we actually, a few months, we were collecting over 100% of revenues before the pandemic, because we picked up a lot of business from the people that were doing the Airbnb and vacation rentals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That didn't work out that year with the pandemic. Nobody went on vacation. So we were very fortunate because we did have some friends and some acquaintances that, they had to have their business shut down, and nobody wants that.
No, I mean, here in Washington, D.C., it was a ghost town. I mean, so many restaurants and coffee shops did not survive. They just, they haven't come back, because telework and all of that other thing. So, and we've said this on multiple shows that we've done, but this is really a very recession-proof business. Very, very recession-proof. And so you can, talk about the dreaded R word, but I think we're very unique in that, just like you said, we don't have a lot of inventory to control either, because a lot of brick and mortar places that sell items, you're disrupted by supply chain issues, or there's, a shortage, or there's a manufacturing strike, or whatever it is. There's lots of other pieces that are going to affect your ability to bring a product to market. And not only that, where are you going to house this? You have to, you can start with literally almost nothing. You can just little space, right? A computer.
Yep.
What else do you need, right? And a phone.
It's not like it's not like we have to have the houses stored or anything. The great thing is it's there.
Yes.
And it's like you said, it's a very low barrier. And I really appreciated that when we first started, because, it's always tough when you start a new business and you're learning to be a business owner. It's difficult. You're going to have challenges. The great thing that the All County, excuse my dog, is that the family's there for you. You can call for help and they're there.
And that's the thing, because, even myself as a real estate agent, I mean, I've done rentals before. I have my own rental portfolio, right? And there are things that I have learned over 10 years of being a landlord that, I mean, even now I'm learning new things every day with the way that the franchise does business. And they're like, have you done this? Woo, did not know it's supposed to be doing that. Oops. And so it's good to have somebody that is on your side, that's your partner in this, and that's saying, hey, we've checked in. You really should be looking out for these things, right? Because a lot of times when you start up a business versus partnering with someone else, like you don't know much either at the ground level when you're launching. So, and especially in a business where you're dealing with housing and there's, laws and regulations and, county rules, like you really should be with a partner who knows what they're doing.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where, and you get the shared experience of the system. Everybody's been through it, so they all share their point of view. At the end of the day, you do make the decision, but it's nice to know you're not out there alone on an island.
Yeah.
So
completely.
It makes a huge difference.
It does. And, I think it also just, for me, it accelerated the whole process, right? Because can you build a business from scratch? Sure. But then you can also sit and punch yourself in the face every day for like 10 times too. It's so difficult. And so why not make your life easier and partner with it? Just, to me, it's a no-brainer, right? So
yeah. It's like you said, you can take the hammer and hit yourself in the foot every day until
Making
you realize,
mistakes.
You don't want to. You try and make as few as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And most franchise systems have that support. I think we have it in
Hmm.
abundance because everybody wants to help. And that's important to
Yeah.
me.
So let's say a new franchisee says, yes, I want to sign up. What is their experience like after that initial process?
So after the initial process and we get all the paperwork that's done, then we really start setting them up for their
Hmm.
success. We start having the conversations about being a business owner, how it's different than being an
Oh, it is very
employee.
different. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
You don't have, you don't have all the support teams that you do when you're in
Oh,
corporate America.
no, no, you do miss
Your HR and
an
everything
IT,
else.
especially. I'm like, oh, God, I cannot figure this thing out on my computer. Oh, it's awful.
Yes. So it's having those conversations and getting them prepared and really connecting them to also other franchise owners in the system and sort of creating a mentor group for
Hmm.
them that they can call on and ask questions and say, hey, this is the situation. How do you handle it? And, they share their experience. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not, but at least you're aware of it. So sharing that is very, very
Hmm.
important and holding them accountable. Did you make the calls? Here's the business plan. You, the one that submitted it. So let's see how you're doing. That's part of, learning to be a business owner is holding yourself accountable and recognizing the good and the bad. We're not great at
No.
everything. We sometimes think we are, but you and I both know that's not
Oh,
the
no. The
case.
older I get, the more I know what my flaws and faults are and the things that I'm very weak about, which, isn't always
Yeah,
easy to admit. But yes, I agree with you. We are not good at everything. This is just fact.
yeah, yeah. So that's part of the things we share with them and get them to understand. I always tell new business owners, I said the toughest thing that I had to learn when I started was to learn to say no.
Mm,
Because we all wanted to help and we all want to do well, and you want to say yes to everything. And as a business owner, you recognize you can't.
mhm.
You're not able to. You want to, but it's not always possible.
And you know what I find really interesting from my journey as a business owner is that business is the one space where I think you constantly have daily opportunities for personal growth because the business will test
Mhm.
you and it will also uncover a lot of things about yourself if you're willing to um, be honest with yourself, right? So
Yes.
um, like you, I also come from a family that owned rental property. And I also remember working summers. I was cleaning windows and I was, they would rent the Home Depot carpet cleaner or whatever it was. And I'd be sitting
Oh,
there with
yeah.
the machine and I'd be like doing the carpet cleaning because my parents did everything themselves. They were very DIY, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
I've had to learn as a business owner that I cannot DIY my way through a business. It is not possible to do so. So but recognizing that about yourself, I would have never really had to do that in a corporate job. Never, you know?
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting how, and we talked to Laura Barron in another show and she said the same thing of like, it's
Mhm.
amazing how you get into this business thinking, I want to make all this money and I want, financial freedom or whatever it is. And you really find yourself exploring more about who you are, what makes you tick and understanding yourself better if you're willing obviously to do some self-reflection and also
Yeah.
figuring out your connections to other people both through business and in her case she works with her spouse as well just like you do.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting, businesses are very interesting organic things that like take on a life of their own and also really bring you know what's what your gifts are out, I think.
No, I believe you hit the hammer on the nail, and really it does make a huge difference. If you're willing to really look at yourself and what you bring, and it also enhances some of the things that you might have that's innate and you didn't
Hmm.
realize it. So there's, to me, every day is a learning opportunity, and I'm excited when I wake up and says, okay, what can we do today? What are we going to discover today about ourselves and about others? To me, that's the great exploration. and I enjoy it.
It
So
is. It is. And it must be really fun to watch new franchisees come in and they're all bright eyed and bushy tailed. Do you check in and then see how they're doing at like 6 months or like a year? How's that? When you catch up with them, like at the annual conference or, that kind of stuff?
it's
Uh-huh.
exciting. I see the
Yeah.
journey. We see the progression of the business and their
Hmm.
discovery of themselves and what they're capable of. A lot of times, a lot of the franchisees don't know if they have that skill set, or they might have the skill set and didn't realize that they could utilize it. And that discovery is profound because they now don't limit themselves. Every one of us think that we can only do so
Hmm.
much. And then when you get into the business and you discover what you're capable of and that there's really no
Hmm.
limit, it's exciting. When you say, I don't have limits and I can do whatever I want because I own the business, but more importantly, I can
Hmm.
grow it and I can bring people in to be part of this. And it's like you said, the organic portion of it and seeing it grow and expand, it's exciting.
It actually is super, super cool because I think, and one of the things I love about being a franchisee is that you are in a peer group. So when you start, you are surrounding yourself with people who already are successful. Because, like you said, Han, a lot of people, when they leave corporate America, and I was a government employee for, a good 14 or 15 years, and government, not to say anything bad about it, but it's not a place where you you innovate. It's you follow the rules,
Hmm.
right? And so
Right.
I think when you get in a space where literally the sky is the limit, sometimes you have a hard time imagining, well, what could that actually look like? But in the case of All
Right.
County, you have other people actually doing it. So, I mean,
Yeah.
at the annual conference, a lot of the presentees are franchise owners, and they're sharing with the rest of us. Here's what I did to get to 1,000 units. I mean, there are some people that run some
Right.
unbelievable businesses, and you just think, wait, what? You've created that in what? And it
Yeah.
opens your mind to the possibility of like, well, if I wanted to as a business owner, I could do that because there's already a model for it. And look, there are
Yes.
already successful people. And I think the groups that you put yourself in and the people that you surround yourself with have an incredible impact on, what you believe is possible for yourself.
Yes. Absolutely. And that's what I love. And they're willing to
Hmm.
share.
Yes.
I've been in corporate settings where, they don't share a lot and you have to turn around and make sure somebody's not going to shank you when you're walking down the
Yes.
hallway.
Yes.
It's that type of a
All
competitive
it's
environment. It's
awful, the
like,
office
yeah, no.
politics and like you got to hide things.
Oh
And I
yeah.
mean, honestly, that's part of just a bad corporate culture, in my opinion, where like employees don't share. There's no transparency. There's no vulnerability. There's no, how I'm going to share this so I can get better. I mean, I just,
Yeah.
but it is what it is, right? But as a business owner,
Yeah.
you get to decide what the culture is of your organization, even because even though All County has what 60 plus franchise locations.
Yeah. 70, 72,
Oh,
I think
72.
now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even though there's all these locations, I think every office has a specific, its own little micro culture, right? Like obviously All County has
Yes.
its, because it's very family, right? Like we all know each other, which is
Yeah.
nice about it. And I think something that sets us apart from other franchises, but even within your own office, you can create your own world, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. The ability to create that environment, that culture, I think is
Hmm.
wonderful. We've all been in good and bad relationships, and you want this one to be good. So you get to
Hmm.
create that. And to me, that we are able to do that across the system is, it all starts from the top with Sandy and
Yeah.
Scott to have that. And so I every time I think about it, I feel like I'm blessed, to be part
Hmm.
of it.
And what would you say to potential franchisees who are considering All County? What tips would you give for them?
I think the biggest thing I tell them, and I told you as well, was to take your time, right? Take your time. Don't rush into it. It is a huge step when you're going into business. And it doesn't matter if it was with All County or
Or
with
with
some
any
other
franchise.
franchise.
Yes, correct.
Any franchise, any business. And I think a lot of people rush into it thinking that they have
Hmm.
to, and you don't. I mean, it's something you really have to consider, in today's society with everything being instant gratification. A lot of people think they need to, and I remind them, no, you don't. Take your time. You're going to step into a situation where it's all consuming because it's
Yeah.
yours, and you need to make
Yes.
sure.
And it's so funny that you say that, Han, because I remember Han saying this to me. And then I think by the time of like our first phone call, I was literally at your office within like a month signing the agreement. Because I already decided, I think by the time I talked to you, like
Right,
I'd already decided it was going to be property management and a franchise. It was a question for me of which one, right?
right.
And I think, my conversations with you, because again, I think it was, I don't know if it was Rob that mentioned on one of our prior shows, but if you talk to other franchises that work in property management, a lot of times you're talking to the salesperson. They don't actually own the business. And
Yeah,
you are a business owner. So franchisees who are, or potential franchisees who are considering it, can talk to someone who has actually done it. And not only who has actually done it, but who has done it for over a decade and has seen the
yeah.
whole life cycle from beginning to end. And also who has talked to, almost every single franchisee probably from a certain point and has seen their path of growth, right? So Han is a really amazing resource for those of you who are thinking about all counties of franchise. And I would say, back to your point of like, take your time. Yes, take your time with due diligence. However, I feel like opening a business is kind of like having a baby. There's like never really a good time to do it. You just do it. So
Exactly.
just my 2 cents.
It's true. It really is. You have literally a
Yeah.
baby, which is this business, and you've got to nurture it, take care of it, watch it grow, get excited about it, and
Cry when it
every once
falls
in a while it's
down.
going to fall when it
When it
falls
takes a
down.
step and falls down, you're like,
Right.
oh, it's so painful. Yes.
So for us, it's everybody goes
Mhm.
through it. And I think to me, the great thing is that we get to share the good and the occasional
Yeah.
bad. And that's important, it's important to us.
Well, for those of you that are considering property management and a franchise, Hon Wong, Director of Franchise Development, everybody, make sure to give him a call because honestly, you will not be sorry. I know I wasn't. So thank you so much for being on the show, Han. We really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, Tanya.
We hope you've enjoyed hearing this episode of the All County All Stars podcast. Thanks for giving us a 5-star review. For more information on how All County can help you start and grow an amazing business, go to allcountyfranchise.com or call us at 855-245-7368. You're only one phone call away from an opportunity that could change your life.